What's going on YouTube? Kigerr here. In today's video, we're going to look at the PvP tier list for October 2022. Let's get into it. Alright guys, today we're talking about PvP, October 2022. There were some changes to all the passives for all the classes, so this may not be perfect, especially there's still a lot of testing to do with the new fairy will system, so that can change a lot of things in the future as well. So what you have above my head is where I rank everything right now in PvP. The three major game modes I ranked them in were in Uncharted Battlefield, Crystal Battlefield, and Top League. Now you'll see bottom and C rank will go from the bottom up, is I have Marksman as C rank in PvP. I gave it a 2 in Uncharted Battlefield because it relies heavily on your actual crit, and you don't get to carry those stats over into Uncharted Battlefield. There is an edible that you can get in the shop there that gives you 10%, but you can get that 10% on all the classes. I gave it also a 2, you can argue a 3 in Crystal Battlefield because Marksman main bonus is from attacking the same target over and over. You are not able to do that really in Crystal Battlefield because everyone's running. There's movement speed bonuses on the ground. There's ways to kind of mess with the platforms. You just can't really stick on the same target if you are Marksman. Then I actually gave them a 4 in Top League because you can stay on the same target, and if you're able to land a really good meteor arrow and multi-arrow, you can really put in the hurt on a single target. Next, we are going to talk about Gladiator. Gladiator didn't really get changed a whole lot. I got 1% extra attack and a few very small changes. And as you can see, I have it right here in B rank, and I gave it 3s across the board. I gave it a 3 in Uncharted Battlefield because it'll always do okay. It has some self-healing going on. Sure, it hurts itself, but if you're able to get a quick lead and Uncharted Battlefield, then you will feel like an unkillable tank. Then I gave them a 3 in Crystal Battlefield. They do really good AoE, and if you tap target skills instead of just tap release skills, then you will be able to do really good range attacks, such as Punitive Chop. Your 4th skill right here actually has a further range than Tornado from Judge and things like that. If you tap and target a specific direction, you can hit people. If you're on one of the side platforms or even the middle platform, you can hit. If you're in the middle platform, you can hit the one of the boars that pop up near the middle platform, which is why they got a 3 there. And Top League, same thing, 3v3, so you're more likely to hit 2 or 3 targets. They don't really deal the highest damage, but if you're equal footing, anywhere near the same I hate saying CP, but comparable power level, then you should survive and be able to frontline for your party. Next, we go over into Craftsman Mechanition on the right. It is also in B. I gave it a 3 in Uncharted Battlefield. What's so weird about Uncharted Battlefield is you get to move around way more than even Crystal Battlefield. I gave Mechanition a 3 in both game modes, Uncharted Battlefield and Crystal Battlefield, because Mechanition's really good at putting down its turrets and spiders and such, but then it can't really chase you. It can't really keep up, which is its main downfall. You do have access to the armor skill of Blasting Sparkle that prevents healing, but you need to stack it up to be able to get the anti-heal effect. But Mechanition, I gave it a 3 in both of those game modes. I gave it a 4 in Top League because you're able to, if people are moving around the edges, you can set up either in the middle of the combat in the initial encounter, or in one of the corners, you can put up your spiders and turrets and keep your opponent kind of in that corner. And if they come out or try to do AoEs, they end up blowing up the spiders or turrets and dealing damage to themselves or their party mates. Next, we go into the A list, which we have Holy Sacrifice, or Priest on the right. So I gave them a 3 in Uncharted. The heal is great to have, as well as the Star Blessing, Cleanse, and Buff. I gave it a 3, but it can really be a 4 if you're doing it a 3-man and you all 3 are kind of in sync. Then this class can be a 4 with well-timed Star Blessings, heals, and using the Frostworm from Judge. Then I have a 4 for Crystal Battlefield because the Star Blessing right here, so it gives you the 10% attack and crit bonus and to your allies. So in Crystal Battlefield you have it's 15 against 15, so you can buff a bunch of people near you, making it easier to win the battle for the platforms. So I gave them a 4 due to that. And Top League, you're kind of forced to work with your team, so I gave them a 4 for the same reasons. And even if you guys are working together close enough, and if your secondary is good enough to kind of mix with your team, such as Wind Chaser, which is S rank, then that actually heightens Holy Sacrifice or Priest up to a possible 5 in Top League. Then we have kind of the biggest change overall. If you guys go back and look at last month's rankings, armor I had in the bottom tiers that Marksman's at right now, I had armor way down there. So why armor rose so much is, one, it got the 5% crit damage bonus, which doesn't sound like a lot, but really does add up. And in if you watch my Top League video from this past weekend, you will see that you're able to prep. There's a countdown and all these game modes. Uncharted, Crystal Battlefield, and Top League all have countdowns leading up to the battle, so you can start the battle off with a full charge with armor, which gives you all the special bonuses, such as the HP the heal reduction from Blasting Sparkle, not to mention Scorching Blast, which says dramatically reduce movement speed, but it seems to be around 90 or 95%. And then the absolute truck that is Netherfire. It always did the most damage in the game. It is the single hardest hitting skill in the game, besides maybe a fully stacked out multi-arrow, but that's the only exception. But that puts armor in a well-deserved A rank for me. Going into S, for actually similar reasons, we have a Judge. So, Judge is such an interesting class in PvP because, well, let's talk about what I gave them. Well, as far as armor, I gave armor a 4 in Uncharted. Go back to armor. I gave armor a 4 on Uncharted because the flamethrower can clear a whole section of enemies. Having the 35% crit rate, crit damage are flat stats that nobody else gets in that game mode, putting them way up. I gave them a 3 in Crystal Battlefield because of the HP recovery, prevent HP recovery, as well as the 95% slow. And then if you're in a big cluster like on the walkway up to a platform, Netherfire can just wipe out 2 to 3 players at a time. I do not armor could be in the conversation to be an S tier. The issue is you really need high stats. If there was a whale class that you is only good if you are high power level, this would be one of those. Now, talking about Judge, as I'm sorry I kind of got carried away there. For Judge, I gave them a 4 in Uncharted Battlefield. That's because you have some really interesting combos, such as double chain strike. You don't have to run Pious Light if your team is set up in such a way that they have the heals for you, so you can just spam your abilities. But really, you're mainly going to want to be using Frostworm, Hurricane, and Chain Strike, because these are things that are really going to affect your opponent. So Frostworm, big AoE slow, Hurricane, knock up, these are best to work in tandem, so you can hit them with a Hurricane or a charged Hurricane better than that, and then while they are knocked up, it'll make it easier to hit Frostworm or vice versa. And then Chain Strike is really your nuke, and this is you kind of do the 3, it's a wombo combo, and you would like to have Cold Fire Bird because it's a low cooldown skill that you can spam leading up to the Judge passive. But if your team doesn't have heals going on, you really do need Pious Light. For Judge, I gave them a 5 in Crystal Battlefield and Top League for all the reasons I just listed. Crystal Battlefield is a little bit tougher. You can argue that they're a 4 in Crystal Battlefield because you kind of have to decide on the fly if you need the heal or not, but you can also use Wind Chaser or something else that has a cleanse or heal to back yourself up if you really need that. Going on into Wind Chaser. So Wind Chaser is just built for PvP, straight up period the end. You get the extra dodge, which is huge. You get the cooldown on your abilities, which is huge. I'm still trying to work around this third ability that is worded in such a way that it's hard to really understand, because it sounds like when you dodge or use roundhouse kick, you gain a damage bonus based on 20% of the reduced cooldown, including reduced cooldown for 5 seconds, triggered every 10 seconds. So that sounds like you get that 40%, plus there's a will generation that can give you up to 8%, so 48%, plus anything that gets added in the future, and you get 28% of 48% as damage increase, is kind of what it sounds like. But only for 5 seconds every 10 seconds when you dodge or roundhouse kick, but roundhouse kick has a super low cooldown. I'm still testing this because it's hard, it doesn't pop up anywhere, and it's hard to see when that happens. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've noticed anything like that. But just minus that, so you have Strength of Nature, which they added this text at the end just a little bit ago, that it's a cleanse, remove all debuffs, but they added this text at the end. The skill can be released when controlled. So that's stun or what have you. So Licorice or Primrose, you can use Strength of Nature, whoop, and then dip out of there using one of your extra dodges from the Wind Chaser Wind Control passive, allowing you to reposition using Roundhouse Kick to kick away, and then throwing down Shifting Bolt behind you, making it hard for your opponent to catch up. It's especially in game modes like Uncharted Battlefield or Crystal Battlefield, where the maps are so big, it really helps you maneuver the battlefield. 100% when you add in powerful classes that have a hard time moving around, such as Judge or what we just said, Armor, giving them the maneuverability of Wind Chaser just drastically improves their PvP viability. So I gave Wind Chaser 5s across the board. Only one that I gave 5s across the board. Even though the sword is in front of that, they're not in order. If they would be in order, Wind Chaser would be number 1. Then we have Berserker on the right. And this one is really tough to work with. And that's because all the other subclasses got buffs or nerfs. This got an entire rework. And I'm still trying to figure it out. I know where I want it to be, and I know what I think it's supposed to be, but I want to figure out where it actually lands. So what's happening here is you gain 15% rage every 3 seconds, and when you hit 100, you go into Berserker Rage. And then you lose 10% every second, and when you go down to 0, you are now out of it. You lose 50% defense, and you gain attack equal to 150% of the defense that you lost. You also get immunity to knockups or knockbacks when you are in the rage mode. It also ends if you swap weapons, which means Berserker wants you to kind of stay in Berserker as long as possible. And the big thing right here is when Berserker skill causes damage to an enemy lower than 50%, gain 10% rage, which will allow you to hit Berserk faster or stay in Berserk longer. Deal additional 25 to 50% damage based on lost HP. This screams the new Slaughter keystone, because it's if they're under 60%, do scaling higher base damage. So, and not to mention your skills like Flash just gets reset if you get a kill with it. Half as much if you kill a monster, meaning they kind of want you to go in that PvP aspect. And what happens here is if they're under 60% and you have level 12 Slaughter and you have good crit and break and stuff like that, you can theoretically Flash kill somebody, Flash kill the next guy, and keep on keeping on. So because they get flat out damage that no one else gets in Uncharted, I gave them a 5 in Uncharted. They also have all the maneuverability of Flash Slash, as well as obviously Flash and Soul Blast, that I gave them a 5, and Crystal Battlefield as well. So especially if you do something like Berserker and Wind Chaser, no one is getting away from you. You are the most maneuverable combo in the game, hands down. And I gave them a 4 in Top League. So this all depends on how people are going to do with you can argue that Berserker could be a 5 in top league, but this is going to come down to testing. Are you going to die before they get down to 60% because you lost 50% of your defense and your opponent has a high pierce rate? Are you able to stick on your target? Are you able to get into Berserk fast enough to matter? These are the questions that need to be answered, and it's going to take another week or two of just doing top league matches, as well as messing with will, keystones, and generations to see how this all fleshes out. Let me know what you guys have as the best class down below, and to enter this video's giveaway, PvP, in the comment section down below, and tell me what you liked or disliked about the video. Till next time, guys.